Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Legal Tender. Back in the building. I'm back in the vault. I pulled out some notes to make a new video. I want to start off, as I always do, by thanking everybody for the love and support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really do mean that. I really do appreciate you taking your time to watch these videos that I make, speaking about something that I love. So for that, again, thank you. If you're a fan of Newsmatics, if you're a fan of paper currency, stay rocking with me, stay rocking with the channel. Every Tuesday is Legal Tender Tuesday. I will be making a new episode speaking about something new and different regarding Newsmatics. So with that being said, let's get into it. All right, so on today's video, I will be speaking about some notes that was made by the U.S. government. As all notes are made by the U.S. government, but these notes are experimental notes. As you can see, have an overprint R and S. They don't look too fancy, but these notes are special. So let's get into it. All right, so as you can see initially, when you first get your notes, you want to check them out. See what type of currency it is. So we see silver certificates. We got the blue serial number. We got the blue seal with the R. Same thing for the S. Silver certificates. All right, so the thing that make these notes special is, all right, in the 1930s, the U.S. government experimented with a new type of paper to print currency. The experimental notes were printed on series year 1935A. See right there, 1935A for the S. And we got 1935A for the R. 1935As, they are silver certificates. We already identified that there. And they were overprinted with either an R or an S to the bottom right side of the note, just to the right of the treasury seal. Okay, so the reason that the U.S. government printed these notes, again, they are experimental notes, and they was trying to find better ways to increase the longevity or the life of a note. So they printed these notes right here, and I will tell you what the S and the R stands for in a second. So the intent was to place these notes into circulation and track the durability of the notes. But getting these notes back from the public was a lot easier said than done because of the bright S and R on the note. The public pretty much seen these as oddities or curiosity pieces, which led to the majority of the notes being kept by the public. So there's two theories from what I've heard and what I researched myself. So with the experimental notes being made on experimental paper, some people say that the R stands for regular paper and the S stands for special paper. My question is, if this is special paper, what's the composition of it? Because we all know that on a regular note, the composition of a note is 75-25, 75% cotton and 25% linen. So what is the composition of this special paper? So that's one theory. The first theory is that the S stands for special and the R stands for regular. From what I've looked up in the research that I've done, I've seen that some say that the R stands for rayon and the S stands for silk. And I'll get more into that in a minute. So during World War II, a large amount of silk was needed to make parachutes. So it would be likely that this was a wartime experiment to replace the silk threads that was needed for the war effort. So that's why people think, from the sources that I cited and that I looked up, think that the S stands for silk because they needed the silk for the war effort. So they was taking the silk from the paper currency and putting it and giving it to where it was needed with the troops. And the R stands for rayon. So maybe both of these notes are special notes, and the R stands for rayon, which means that there was a certain amount of rayon that was included in the overall production of making the notes, and silk was added to this right here. So again, like what would the composition be? Would it be 75%, 24%, and 1% of rayon or silk? But we got two theories. If anyone knows with a site that they could source, or just the overall theory or input, put it down in the comments, because I've heard that the R stands for regular. Then I'm looking it up and it says that it stands for rayon, and the S stands for special. Then I looked that up and they say that it stands for silk. So if anyone could give me a definitive answer, put it down in the comments and please let me know. So thank you for that. So the R&S notes were delivered on June 20th, 1944, and issued into circulation to test the overall comparable durability. So pretty much just the longevity of the note. So the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, they want to put out a product and have it last as long as possible. They say 85% of the notes that are printed to replace notes that are worn and torn and deemed as unserviceable. So the experiment was to increase the life in the printing of the note. So let's talk about what the R stands for from what I looked up. So they say R stands for rayon. Rayon is a semi-synthetic fiber made from natural resources of regenerated cellulose, such as wood and related agricultural products. And the S stands for silk. And silk is a natural protein fiber, some forms of which can be woven into textiles. So, like I said, if you're going with theory one, with it being special and regular, put that down, theory one, in the comments. If you're going with theory two, with this being rayon and silk, put theory two down in the comments. So, speaking about the notes, we see that both notes are silver certificates. They both have a series year of 1935A, which is the only time these notes were printed. Series year 1935A. The purpose of the note was to improve the wear and the printing of the notes. And the number of notes printed was 1,184,000. And that is for both notes. Well, not both notes, but so it was 1,184,000 S's printed and 1,184,000 R's printed. They both have the letter block of SC, which means that it starts with S and ends with S. And the serial numbers for the S that was printed is 73,884,001 all the way up to 75,068,000. So if you have either one of these notes and they fall within that serial number combination, you have a legit note and not a counterfeit, because even these notes were counterfeited as well. And for the R, same letter block, SC, and it was printed in the serial numbers of 70,884,001, all the way up to 72,068,000. These notes were printed in star notes, with 12,000 star notes being printed. So you had 12,000 star notes with the S and 12,000 star notes with the R. So the treasurer and the treasurer of the United States during the time of this experiment is Julian. We got Julian as the treasurer of the United States during this experiment. Let's see. And the Secretary of Treasury was Morgenthau. These notes were shipped and distributed from the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, the only one of all 12 Federal Reserve banks. These banks were pushed out of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago and made its way into circulation. Less than 1% of these notes were returned to get an analysis of the overall experiment, because, like I said, with the bright S and bright R on these notes, they were seen as different, and some thought, they was kind of curious about it. So the overall public, they just kept the majority of these notes. So of the 1 million X amount of numbers, only 10,000 R notes were returned back to the Treasury, and only 9,500 S notes were returned. It was a short-lived experiment, and it lasted for 2 years. So the notes were put into printed and put into circulation on June 20th, 1944. And the experiment was called to an end on May 22nd, 1946. So that's what we got on the obverse. On the reverse, nothing different. They're not funny backs, but they are godless notes, because the congressional act to have "In God We Trust" motto put on the notes was implemented in 1953. So we have the traditional godless back. All right, fun fact about these experimental notes. These experimental notes are one of two notes that was ever printed by the United States government to actually went through a fourth printing process. Hold on one second. And we're back. All right, so the regular printing process to print a sheet of 32 or 50 notes is 3 print runs that it goes through. The reverse side is printed first because it consumes the most ink. So you print that, let that ink dry for 72 hours. Then after that, you print the obverse side. That's the front with everything on it. Let that dry for 72 hours. And then on the third print, you print the treasury seal, and the serial number is printed for 3 printing processes. And so to make a sheet, to make a sheet of notes, I want to say it takes 216 hours to have an entire sheet of notes printed. Is that right? 72. Let's go with that. 216 hours. But with these, because the S and R was overprinted. That was a fourth print run that these notes had to go through. So, like I said, these are one of two notes that has a fourth printing process, and the other notes are the emergency currency notes, which are Hawaii notes, with Hawaii being printed twice on the obverse side, on the left side, on the right side, and big bold lettering on the back. So that's your fun fact. One or two notes that has to be printed 4 times. I want to say these notes were printed on a sheet of 32. And yeah, that's that. I found out about these notes, and I did as much research about them as possible. I'm glad that I have them in the collection. If you get one, you won't stop until you get the other one. And this is the one, I got the S one first. And then after that, it took a while, but I got my coins together and I was able to get an R. They say the R is the most scarce of the two. So that's a little bit more expensive. But really glad that I have them in the collection. So if you have the S or the R or both, put it down in the comments. Let's start building more dialogue via the comments. I read everything. My man AP, he could tell you that. AP, what up? So, experimental notes. So, that's all we got for this one. Again, thanks for the love. Thanks for the support. All right. Till next time, keep it legal. Keep it tender. Talk to you soon.